Hello and welcome to the first video series for the Level 100 Watson Analytics Enablement. This first video series will be all about data. So arguably the most important thing before you can start using Watson Analytics is understanding the type of data that's going to work and how to get it into Watson Analytics. So one note before we get right into the data part of the discussion is just a note about language. Currently, Watson Analytics only supports English language. There's a lot of work that needs to go into the automation and intelligence behind the scenes to be able to support other languages. So things like the intent analysis and the natural language dialog box are not trivial to update, to translate to other languages, to localize. So at this time, we only support English language. And while it is possible to load in a different language data set, for example, if I have an Excel sheet in French, I could load it in. However, we don't want to do that for a couple different reasons. We might get some unexpected results. In fact, you likely will get some unexpected results because all the logic is built in English right now. So we don't want to show people that, and also we don't want to give people the impression either that we support other languages when currently we do not. So that's just a note about language just to kick things off. So talking specifically about the type of data that will work well or best in Watson Analytics, probably the easiest way to describe it would be Watson Analytics supports rectangles of data. So the data has to be nicely structured with rows and columns, uniform values within each column. Easiest way to think about it would be a database table. So a database table again has uniform columns. Every column has consistent types of values. That would be the type of data that is supported or optimal for Watson Analytics. So let me pop over to Excel and show you an example of a data set that would work well. And this is going to be the data set we use for the basis of the exercises of this video series for this level 100 enablement. What you're looking at here is a satisfaction survey. So imagine you're working for an airline, and this is the type of data set you'd look at where every row represents a different survey respondent, and they provide information about their satisfaction rating, if they had status, when they flew, where they flew from, to, what airline they were flying, etc. So lots of different columns about every a whole bunch of columns where every column represents a different variable or aspect of the survey the customer responded to. Couple of things to point out here. Again, you've got a nicely structured data set. There is no formatting, there's no headers or footers, there's no aggregate values. Again, all things that will cause a problem as part of the data import. I'll also point out the nice thing about this data set is that everything, all the column titles are nice and intuitive and concise, and that is extremely important as well because that's going to affect the experience of the user when you're looking at loading a data set into Watson Analytics. So again, make sure that you take the time to remove underscores, remove dashes, dots, special characters. Again, not because Watson Analytics can't handle those things, but just because that's going to affect the experience of the user when you're looking at the results inside Watson Analytics. So before we even get into uploading data, let's just take a couple moments and look at some of the problems or issues you may run into loading data, or that customers might face as well. The first one is around the type of, let's focus on Excel sheets, some formatting issues. And most users, when they think of Excel sheets, typically they don't think of data in this way, very clean and structured. Usually Excel sheets have calculations, formatting, aggregates, etc. So here's a good example of what that is. If we look at just a very simple formatted sheet, you've got a header with some colors, and you've got some nested headers as well. You've got some totals that span multiple columns with some aggregates, but this would be a very typical maybe Excel spreadsheet that a user might have and would try to upload into Watson Analytics. The problem with this particular format is what Watson Analytics does currently is that it looks at the first row of data and chooses that to be the column headers. So when this sheet gets loaded, it would see sales report is a column header and that there are no other column headers in this in this sheet. So that is obviously not good. It will also look at this entire column and say that all of these values are now elements of the sales report column. So products, which is a header, which we don't want. Product A, B, C would be recognized, but totals and average would also show up as an element in this sales report column, which again would be incorrect. And the challenge is it would lead the user to get some very unexpected results and possibly very confusing results as well. So at the end of the day, the sheets you use to upload into Watson Analytics, if you're using Excel or CSV, have to be very structured. They cannot have formatting and headers. Otherwise, the user will get some unexpected results. So if we look at another example, let's look at something that is, again, a little better. So here would be a very similar to that formatted sheet with some of that formatting removed. This will work better, but it still won't be ideal. And this is a bit more of a subtle problem. This one will come in properly because we have this row of headers. So products is what column? That's correct. Regions another one, and we have one column for every month. And let's assume that all these numbers are unit sales. This will load properly into Watson Analytics, but you notice here I've called this poor structure in my tab here at the bottom, because what's going to happen is that this is not going to be ideal for all types of analysis the user might want to do. So something very common you might want to do after you load this up would be to see maybe a line chart showing unit sales over time. The challenge is that it won't allow you to do that. It won't allow you to do even a comparison of months just because of the format of this file, because this is really a crosstab when you look at it, because we've got a whole bunch of different columns, but they've got the same unit of measurement. These are all unit sales, and it won't allow you to do a comparison. This is essentially a crosstab. To do that type of analysis we just talked about, maybe to do a comparison between months or to show unit sales over time, you would have to transpose this or maybe normalize it, you might call it, so that you only have a single column for that measure called unit sales. So if I flip over to this other tab at the bottom, which I'm calling better structure, this would be the how after the transposing of that crosstab into a more of a normalized form where we have only one column for units sold. This would allow you to do that, showing that trend of units sold over time and do a comparison between months, because months now has its own column and units sold also has its own column. So this is a bit of a more of a subtle problem that you may not notice at first and may lead to some frustration because you can't maybe do the analysis that you want. Again, this is not a problem that is unique to Watson Analytics. This is a problem with almost all similar type solutions or tools where the format has to be a very specific way to achieve optimal analysis, we'll say. So that's just another subtle problem. Let me flip back to the data set we're going to be using for the majority of this video series. This is the satisfaction survey data set again. And again, notice that everything, all the measures we have here are in single columns, and again, nicely structured, nicely named column headers. This would be the ideal type of data set for use in Watson Analytics. So that's the end of this first video in the data series for Watson Analytics Level 100 enablement. The next video in this series, we're going to look at the data upload and look at different methods you can upload data, whether it be Excel or from a database. So again, thanks for watching, and tune in to the next video of this series.